In today's video, we are going to compare two bidding strategies that are often compared with each other when looking at building a Google Ads campaign. We're comparing Manual CPC with Maximize Clicks. Now, the reason these two strategies are often compared and competing with each other in some people's minds is because both of them have very similar objectives. They have the objective of the potential to drive traffic at a fixed cost, where you set your max CPC. Of course, with Manual CPC, you're setting your max CPC yourself. And with a Maximize Clicks strategy, one of the options within that bidding strategy is, of course, to set your max CPC. So both of them give you that full control over what you pay Google for your traffic. Now, these two strategies are going to be useful in different scenarios, and by the end of this video, you're going to know which strategy you should go with based on your individual scenario, and also, of course, whether you should use either of these strategies in the long term for your campaigns. So let's start off with the scenario of launching a brand new campaign, because that is quite often what people are looking at when they look at these two bid strategies. Say you launch a new campaign and you were to forget Manual CPC or forget Max Clicks, and you just went straight in with a target CPA when Google has no history. Google will eventually learn over time. It will take a long time for them to do so, and that's always going to be the case. But as they're learning, you're going to be paying a lot of money for your traffic. You're going to be paying top dollar. And the reason for that is because Google has to fluctuate those bids in order to find people who meet the criteria of being somebody who is in market for conversion for your products and services. It has to learn. And the only way it can learn is to go, I'm going to bid very aggressively, and I'm going to bid very low, and I'm going to see how people interact with the ads based on all of these different factors, and I'm going to learn how to do that. Now, this is a highly risky strategy when starting a new campaign, so when it comes to the initial launch of a campaign, usually the question is Manual CPC or Maximize Clicks. Now, if you're launching a brand new campaign, both of these strategies give you that max CPC setting to allow you to learn very carefully without spending too much money. Now, it's important that when you look through your search terms and you're kind of refining the traffic quality, you don't pay too much for your traffic while you're going through that exercise. So these strategies can be very helpful in letting you do that. But in this scenario, which one would you ideally use? Well, it depends on the long-term thoughts of your business and your Google Ads campaign, because these two strategies aren't just compared for new campaigns, they're also compared for advertisers with very low budgets. Generally speaking, low budget advertisers will choose between these two strategies because, number one, they probably don't have the budget to effectively compete on a smart bidding strategy where Google has to learn and it takes a few clicks for them to do so. And as I mentioned, your traffic costs are going to be much higher. So when you're looking at this as an advertiser with very little budget, these two strategies are going to be what you're going to be looking at. So if you are a small business and you don't have any ambition to grow and you just want to do a bit of turnover on the side, maybe it's a side hustle, I would say you start with Manual CPC, because then you can use that bid strategy to optimize bids yourself towards a conversion based on the performance of individual keywords. You can increase bids to get more visibility or decrease bids to reduce visibility based on the cost of your conversions. Really old school way of managing Google Ads. And for tiny budgets, that can be okay. And of course, for brand campaigns or campaigns with very little scope, this can be an okay way to run a campaign. But if you're running a campaign where the budget is expected to grow and you have growth ambitions, I would say Manual CPC is not going to meet your ambitions in the long term, especially for those businesses looking for serious growth. Now, when you use Maximize Clicks at the start of a campaign, or if you're in a low budget scenario now but have ambition to grow in the future, Maximize Clicks will bring you in the traffic as many clicks as possible for your budget, but you also get to set that max CPC level. Now, the reason you start with Maximize Clicks for this scenario to grow in the future is because you're going to be using Maximize Clicks for a very limited time, because you obviously want to migrate to a smart bidding strategy as you start getting more conversion data. So Maximize Clicks gives you a good way to get conversions and get some conversion data for a lot cheaper cost. So you're ready to make the jump into a smart bidding strategy that's going to optimize towards a campaign goal. Remember, I'm not somebody who's going to advocate for either of these strategies for the long term. In the long term, for a business that's looking to grow and scale and actually use Google Ads to generate significant revenue, you're not going to do that with Manual CPC or Maximize Clicks, generally speaking. There are some outliers, I'll give you that. There are some scenarios where it can be okay, but in the vast majority of cases, you're going to be better off using smart bidding in the long term. So, with that being said, when you compare these two strategies, they have the same goal of traffic and then somewhat optimization with Manual CPC, but ultimately you don't really want to be on either of them. But if you insist on using either of these strategies, here is how you start the implementation process to actually start delivering results in line with your expectations. First of all, your maximum CPC isn't just going to be a cost control, it's also going to be a visibility control. If you set your max CPC too low, yes, you're going to get really cheap traffic, but you're also going to limit your visibility significantly. Now, with a maximize clicks campaign strategy, bid strategy, if you set that max CPC too low, there may be some scenarios of keywords where you start to get a little bit of visibility, but generally speaking, you will lower the visibility of the campaign. Now, if you turn over to a manual CPC campaign, this is a bigger problem because it's at keyword level. You need to make sure that your visibility across the board on your keywords matches up with the traffic expectations of your business. If you're setting your bids too aggressively low, you're not going to get visibility, and that matters for every single keyword individually, as opposed to with a maximize clicks strategy. You're setting that at the very top level across everything. So Google's algorithm can give you more visibility with a max clicks strategy, more so than a manual CPC strategy in a lot of cases, because of those individual bid levels. It's okay to do this at first, but you need to keep an eye on your visibility and see how much you have to raise your bids in order to get the visibility needed to actually deliver a campaign that can get traffic and get sales in the long term as well. But one important thing to note is, of course, that on a maximize clicks strategy, setting a max CPC is not mandatory. You can just have no max CPC and Google will try and get you as many clicks as it can for the budget. Now, in a lot of early campaigns or low budget advertiser campaigns, this is okay because you don't necessarily need that max CPC set. Google will try and achieve that traffic level based on your total budget. However, if you set that budget too high, Google will always spend it. Maximize clicks is one of the only bidding strategies where Google is basically guaranteed to spend every single penny of your budget. There is no restriction with no max CPC set in place. It could spend everything regardless of budget, even if there's not the number of people looking to justify what they're spending. So let me give you a scenario. Say for argument's sake, you're setting up a maximize clicks campaign and you set a budget of $500 a day. You start getting clicks in that campaign and it looks all good. You increase your budget to $1,000 a day. Now, when you make that jump from 500 to 1,000, if there's not more people in market to justify the increase in budget to reach more people, Google will still find a way to spend that money. It will increase the CPCs, you'll end up paying more for your traffic and getting the same amount of traffic anyway. So that's another thing to keep an eye on when using a maximize clicks strategy. When you're incrementing your budget in your campaign, just make sure that you're getting more in return. Remember, it's a maximize clicks strategy. If you're not getting more clicks when you're putting more money in, it's not really doing what it's supposed to do for you. Yes, Google will claim they're trying to get as much clicks for the budget you set, which is kind of true, but ultimately Google will always spend your money on this strategy. So be very careful when tweaking your budget for this strategy. So in summary, when comparing these two bid strategies, I think they can be quite effective for early campaigns and for low budget advertisers, but which one you should pick depends on your long-term goals. As I say, if you're looking to scale, I would start off with a maximize clicks strategy and then migrate over to a smart bidding strategy. But if in the long term you're set on having a low budget campaign and you're terrified of spending too much money on Google ads and making a loss in the immediate term, then staying with manual CPC and having that control over your small budget is okay. Just don't expect your campaigns to be able to scale as effectively as it would do on a smart bidding strategy. Unless the scope of your campaign is quite narrow, then it's okay. But if you're looking to grow and scale and have a campaign with a lot of keywords and a lot of reach, then it's probably not the best thing to do. Neither of these strategies in the long term are going to help you do that. And that's why I made a video previously basically insulting manual CPC and saying that smart bidding is generally what most advertisers should be doing. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Are you a long-term manual CPC advertiser? Are you using manual CPC on big budgets? Are you spending like $10,000 a month at least on Google ads and then running on manual CPC? Or maybe you are happy being a lower budget advertiser and turning money over for your own resources. Let me know in the comments. I reply to all comments on all of my videos. Like this video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Check out the other content across my channel and I'll see you guys on the next one.